Welcome to the Soft Life with Saddie Baddies. Saddie Baddies is the antidote to mental health stigma, and this podcast is hosted by yours truly, Priscilla O. Adjaman. We are a virtual sanctuary centering Black and multiracial people, and we prioritize the mental and emotional nourishment that is the foundation of collective healing in our communities. Thank you for being here. Hello, baddies. Welcome back to the Soft Life podcast. Happy Monday. I am really excited to come back and chat with you. I know I say that every week, but I really do. I get like butterflies in my stomach. But we are back with another micro moment. Last week's micro moment was about why you might hate your birthday and how to fix it. And to date, that has been my favorite post, my favorite episode that we've ever shared on a solo topic, and the amount of love and resonance we received was incredible. Like, that is why I love long form content. That's why I love podcasting, writing our newsletter. If you're not subscribed to our Substack, genuinely asking, what are you doing? Because the Substack is really where you get real time comments, you get to have a dialogue with us. And of course, Instagram, you can leave comments and DMs and all of that. But our Substack is becoming its own little family, and I love it so much. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I cannot shut up about it. I'm becoming that person, and I don't care. I love it. So definitely subscribe to us on Substack. But because this is a micro moment, I want to hop right into this week's topic and episode. And this week's topic is to stop letting jaded people speak fear into you. I am a firm believer that ignoring the right people will get you far, and we're going to dive deeper into it. So, if you are somebody that has a tendency to dream big, you have big goals, you have lofty goals, or also if you're someone in your family who's a cycle breaker or generational cycle breaker, this episode is for you, dedicated to all the cycle breakers and anyone who is the first to do anything in their lineage. So are officially in the vision board era of the year. This is that hazy, thin line between what we want to leave behind and what we want to call in for the new year. And despite the burnout that many of us feel, there is this glimmer of hope that I sense that somewhere in the depths of our soul, we are looking forward to a fresh start come January 1st. So maybe right now, you're like me, you're digging through your closet to let go of old clothes or items that no longer serve you. Maybe you just practiced the full moon release that we had yesterday. Yesterday was a full moon in Gemini, or reevaluating relationships that have just run its course. But regardless of the physical or symbolic action that we're taking individually to make this year feel like it's finally coming to an end, the purpose of this time is to make room for possibilities. But have you ever noticed that when you have this urge to share your excitement or hope for what's to come, or give details about the goals you're working on or manifestations you're bringing into life, maybe you notice that there's that little bit of resistance? Maybe it's a quiet voice telling you, shh, not yet. I call this the incubation phase, and this is the phase between dreaming or planning and activating, and that precious brief moment before your self doubt and limiting beliefs can catch up to the courage that you've mustered to pursue your heart's desire. That incubation phase is so incredibly important, and combined with aligned action and deep focus, this is what separates those who think about doing something versus those who actually do it. It's sometimes why we see our ideas executed by someone else when we feel like we had the ideas ourselves much longer. And it is exactly why I am so careful of who I share my heart's desires with, especially not jaded people. You see, a jaded person has lost that sparkle in their eye. Being jaded quite literally means to feel tired, bored, or lacking enthusiasm about something, usually because you have experienced it too many times and it no longer excites you. It's the person who shrugs when you tell them good news. It's that person who changes the topic as soon as you have something celebratory to share. It's the person or people who automatically point out the negative or the this is why it won't work when you tell them an idea or project you're pursuing, and not in that objective, constructive way, but in a way that says, I failed out at this and you will too. So, whether you're practicing to run your first marathon, or working on a career switch or new job, or planning to move across the country in the new year, the key to maintaining the courage and confidence to pursue those goals and dreams is to not allow jaded people to talk you out of it before you even try. We often look at confidence the same way we look at vanity, but they couldn't be more different. Confidence is a byproduct of showing up for yourself consistently, even when the odds feel stacked against you. It's built through small wins, resilience in the face of setbacks, and a belief in your ability to grow and adapt. It doesn't have anything to do with how often you look in the mirror, yet it has everything to do with whose voice you trust the most when seeds of doubt creep in. And a jaded person by default is someone who has let their own doubts and disappointments cloud their perspective, making it harder for them to see the potential in others. Their voice might be loud, but it's rooted in fear, not possibility. And when you can learn to trust your own inner voice over theirs, you empower yourself to take risks, make mistakes, fuck ups, and ultimately grow into the baddie capable of achieving your dreams. So, what do you do when you have the urge to share your excitement about your goals, but you don't want jaded people sabotaging your momentum before you even start? Number one is to write it down first. As Erica Badu said, write it down on real paper with a real pencil with real intent and watch it get real. Spelling is a spell. I love a detailed ass Notion page, just like any other over ambitious girl. But I always start with a simple pen and paper first and set that intention before I map it out in my digital microcosm and planners. If you're anything like me, you might have a combination of writing things down in your journal or a notebook and really setting the intention of it first and then putting it into Notion, like putting a plan into motion. Using Google Calendar or any other project or task management or vision board even to start conceptualizing how you're going to achieve these goals. I do a combination of both, a really simple method and then a more strategic method. The second thing that you want to do is to share your excitement with those who lift you up, people who have the capacity to celebrate your wins, big and small. So if you are just someone who you just cannot keep those feelings of excitement of an inspiration to yourself, then make sure that the people that you're sharing your goals with are also big dreamers. I mean, think about the people who even challenge you to think bigger for yourself. I think about the creatives, the artists, the inventors, the entrepreneurs, the risk takers, the serial hobbyists, and the side quest queens in my life. The people who pour gasoline on the things that spark your joy and creativity. And not just a yes man, not someone who's just gonna blindly say yes to everything you say, but someone who says, yes, now go get it done. That kind of go getter attitude. The third thing that you want to do, if you want to focus on actually pursuing your goals and not allow jaded people to sabotage your momentum, is to ignore them. Literally ignore the jaded people. Seriously, whether that's the childhood friend, a parent, a sibling, or someone in your life who's always giving unsolicited advice, be mindful of who you're sharing your budding ideas with, especially if you wouldn't even trade places with them. If you want to get what you deserve and desire in this life, you quite literally have to ignore the folks who are complacent and have nothing to show for it. It's just like the saying that goes, if you wouldn't trade places with the person who's giving you advice, then maybe reconsider listening to them. And fourth thing is to learn the difference between your intuition and anxiety. So sometimes it's not jaded people that are affecting our desire to take inspired action, but it could be ourselves. Maybe you are the jaded person. right? You could be the person that wants to pursue these goals, but also the person who's jaded and feels like, I failed so many times. Why should I keep trying? And sometimes it's a matter of telling the difference between our intuition guiding us or our anxiety putting fear into us. And if you don't know the difference between your intuition and your anxiety, we have a whole podcast episode and YouTube video about this specific topic. We also have a Instagram post about it if you're a visual person. So if you want all of the links on this and more, it'll be in our show notes, but it will also be in our Substack. So check out that episode if you want to know the difference. And last but not least, simply put, you have to give less of a fuck. You have to get comfortable with people's disapproval. You don't have to pretend that you don't care about external validation or being perceived, but you can learn to honor the voice of your higher self and a higher power more than the voices of jaded people who have already given up. You have to basically stop caring about what other people think of your ideas or your goals, especially if they're goals that are relatively harmless or goals that don't require that much of a risk, but even goals that do require more of a risk, right? Like think about moving across the country or starting a new job. There are more risk involved. But if you're talking to someone who, has been at, for example, their job for 10, 15 years, and they're like, no, why would you leave your job? You know, um, your job is fine. Just stay where you are. They're projecting their experience and their lack of risk taking to try something new. They're projecting that onto you. So it's not that you have to act like you don't care about your parents' opinions or your friends or people in your life. We should care about people's opinions. However, you have to give a little bit less of a fuck, right? Like if it's something that you truly want to pursue, why are you going to let someone talk you out of it and discourage you from having the courage to try? So, I hope that this episode resonates with you. So many of us are the first in our families, that we're the first people in our lineage, the first people that we know to do or try something. I have a lot of first in my family. I was the first person in my family to move out and, move to a different city and pursue my master's degree and do a lot of different things that I feel like has set the tone for how I want to carry out my legacy as a person and as someone in my family. So I think that it's important to realize that if you're going to be the first person to do something, you are gonna ruffle some feathers, and you are going to maybe make some people uncomfortable, but it's so worth it in the end. So, I hope this episode resonates and stay soft. I will see you next week. To stay connected, join Saddie Baddies on Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and more, and sign up for our monthly newsletter on saddiebaddies.com to stay in the loop. Sending you hella love and stay soft, baddie.